All right, good morning and happy Palm Sunday. So we're going to go ripping right through this. This is the video that was requested, or looks like it's needed, for finding trig values of any angle. So let's rip right through this. This is review. We had a whole set of videos on this already. Okay, so the important things for us to know are what are the sine, cosine, and tangent of 30, 45, and 60. These are our special angles. These are the ones that show up all the time. These are the ones that I'm asking you to know about. So let's figure out what these things are. We have our little special triangles. And again, these triangles should be memorized. You should have this, and this whole table should be known to you as well. Just like 8 times 7 is 56, you should know that the sine of 30 is 1/2. Okay, so let's actually do that. So the sine of 30. So here we are at 30. The sine is opposite over hypotenuse. That's 1/2. And let's stick with 30 degrees, and let's do the cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. That's root 3 over 2. And again, all this information should be known to you already. If we were together, we would have been drilling this in class. And then we're going to do the tangent of 30, which is opposite over adjacent, but 1 over root 3. We rationalize the denominator and make it root 3 over 3. And we do the same thing with 45. That means we need to go over to this special triangle here, the 1, 1, root 2 triangle. So the sine of 45 is 1 over root 2. But again, rationalizing the denominator, we get root 2 over 2. And the cosine of 45 is the same, 1 over root 2. So again, that's going to be root 2 over 2. And the tangent of 45 is another easy one, 1 over 1, which of course is just 1. And then we do the sine of 60. So we're back to this one right here. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. That's root 3 over 2. And cosine of 60 is adjacent over hypotenuse. It's 1/2. And you should recognize this little bit right here, that the sine of 30 is 1/2. The cosine of 60 is also 1/2. So the sine and the cosine of corresponding angles, not corresponding angles, that's not what I meant to say, complementary angles are equal. So 30 and 60 are complementary. The sine of 30 is the same as the cosine of 60. Sine and cosine of 45, the complement of 45 is 45. Those guys are equal. So the tangent of 60, we're back over here. Tangent of 60 is opposite over adjacent. That's root 3. And then I show you these little graphs right here because you know these graphs. And these graphs are going to help us to get the quadrantal angles. In other words, the sine of 0, the sine of 90, and so on and so forth. So if you know this little graph here and you can picture it, then filling in this table here, sine of 0, 90, 180, and 270 is easy. So let's actually do this. So the sine of 0, we go right here, is 0. The sine of 90, well, sine of 90 is 1. It's right up there, 1. The sine of 180, well, sine of 180 right there, it's 0. And the sine of 270 is -1. And of course, we know that when we get back to 360, we're back to where we were at 0. Same trick here with cosine. So the cosine of 0 is 1. Cosine of 90 is 0. Cosine of 180 is -1. Cosine of 270 is 0. And again, we're back to +1 for 360. And tangent is slightly trickier. So the tangent of 0, that's right here. Tangent of 0, of course, is 0. Tangent of 90 is undefined. I'm just going to write it like this because I'm lazy. Tangent of 180 is right there. That's going to be 0. And tangent of 270 is also undefined. We could write -infinity if we wanted to, but we can just write undefined. So this is our basic factual information right here. These are the facts you need to know. You need to know this table inside and out. 8 times 7, 56. 9 times 5 is 45. You need to know these things. You need to know these things as well. Certainly you can visualize the graphs and know what these things are. Okay, so this is fact data that you need to know. Here's a piece of understanding that you need to have. The cast diagram. So the cast diagram, which you saw in some videos, tells you what is positive and negative in each quadrant. So we're going to start with the C in quadrant 4. We go in order here, but we start in quadrant 4. So in quadrant 4, only the cosine, and by the way, the secant, are positive. Everybody else is negative. cosine negative. I'm sorry, cosine positive, everybody else is negative. A stands for all, everybody's positive. S stands for sine, only the sine and the cosecant are positive here. Everyone else is negative in quadrant 2. In quadrant 3, only the tangent and the cotangent are positive. Everyone else is negative in quadrant 3. Okay. And then we need to know about reference angles. These are the 3 things we need to know. We need to know the facts, just like the math facts. We need to understand the cast diagram, where are things positive and negative, and then we need to know what a reference angle is. So the reference angle is the smallest number of degrees needed to get to the x-axis. So let's do one example right here. So the sine of 135 degrees. Not that really sine or cosine or tangent matters, because we're only talking about the angle part. So 135 degrees means we start right here, and we rotate around in this direction here, because this is a positive direction. And there is 135 degrees right there. So that's our angle. And I know that's 135 because I did 90 to here, and 45 more to here makes 135. But the real question is, what's this angle right in here? That's what I want to know, because that's going to help us to form our reference triangle. So the angle that we're looking for right here is, well, we got 135 degrees here. How many more do we need to go in order to make it to the x-axis? That's going to be 45 degrees right in there. So our reference angle is 45. And let me just do one other little example over here that I didn't anticipate, but I'm going to do it right here. Let's again just make believe we're doing cosine, again, not that it matters, cosine of 210. So we're finding out the reference angle for 210. So we're going to start right here on the x-axis. We're going to rotate around. There's 90, there's 180, and I need to go a little bit more. In fact, I need to go, how many more degrees? Yep, you're right, 30 more degrees. So back to the reference angle definition, the smallest number of degrees needed to get to an x-axis. So here we are right here. I want to get back to the x-axis, so that's going to go from here to here. How many degrees is that? Well, that's 30 degrees, and that is your reference angle. So it's the smallest number of degrees needed to get to the x-axis. So up here, we're just doing 180 minus 135 to get 45. Here we're doing 210 minus 180 to get to the x-axis. So in this case, 30. When we're over here, we just need to do 360 minus the angle, and that'll get us how many degrees we need here. But again, it's just how many degrees do you need to in order to get to the x-axis. That's all we need. All right, let's put it all together. There are 3 steps. First thing we need to do is find the reference angle. Boom, we just talked about that. The second thing we need to do is determine what is the trig function value of that angle. And then we'll do that. So like, for example, again, the sine of 30, that's 1/2. Once we know the reference angle, we do the trig function to the reference angle and get us the value that we're interested in. And then lastly, we need to use the cast system to figure out what sign it's going to be, whether it's going to be positive or negative. All right, so I'm going to keep this handy for us right here, and we're going to do some examples. So we want to do the sine of 135. So according to our steps right here, step 1 is to figure out what is the reference angle. So reference angle, I'm going to draw the diagram here first, but again, we should be able to start to figure this out without diagrams. So 135 degrees, we actually already talked about it. So we're going to start right here. This is 90, 45 more gets us to there. And so our reference angle is 45 degrees because that's how many more degrees we need to go to there. So now what we need to know is, what is the sine of 45? Well, we should know that that's the square root of 2 over 2. Root 2 over 2. And then we need to figure out the SIGN sign of this situation right here, sine of 135. Well, we know that in quadrant 2, which is where we are, the sine is positive. The sine is positive, so we have a positive root 2 over 2, and we are done with that problem. So the 3 steps are, again, step 1, figure out what the reference angle is. In other words, how many degrees do we need to get in order to get to the x-axis? Determine the function value of that angle, that's the reference angle, and then figure out what the sine is. 3 steps. All right, let's try another one. cosine of 330. So again, we need to figure out how many degrees is our reference angle. So we're going to start right here. 90, 180, 270. How much more do we need to go? That much more. And again, the question is, how many degrees is this right in here? So in other words, how many more degrees do I need in order to get to the x-axis? Well, the x-axis is going to be 360, so I need 30 more degrees. So what I'm really figuring out here is, what's the cosine of 30? 30 is our reference angle. So what is the cosine of 30? Well, from our chart that we had before, and from our special triangles, you should know that the cosine of 30 is the square root of 3 over 2. Square root of 3 over 2. And the question is this going to be positive or negative? And since we're in quadrant 4, we know the cosine is positive, so we have positive root 3 over 2. And again, of course, this is taking a long time because I'm drawing a diagram and talking through the steps each time, but it should not take a long time as you do it without the diagrams. Okay, tangent at 240. So again, we're going to draw our little diagram here. We're going to start here, 90, 180. Well, we know 270 is here, so we need to go almost to there. And again, ask ourselves, because we're trying to find the reference angle, what is the angle right in there? Well, how many degrees do I need to go to get to from here to here? That's going to be 60 degrees because 180 plus 60 makes 240. So we know that we got 60 right here. So we want to know, well, what is the tangent of 60? Because we need to do the tangent of the reference angle. Tangent of 60 is the square root of 3. And how weird. Here we are in quadrant 3, and the tangent is positive again. Don't worry, they're not all positive. So there's your answer. All right, sine of 210. Actually, how many of these do I have? Yeah, this is the last one. All right, so why don't you take a moment. Oh, no, I got 2 more. So why don't you take a moment right now to do this on your own. Pause the video. Do the sine of 210. Actually do it right now, please. Do it as quickly as you can. And ready, pause. Okay, so you've paused and you're back. So sine of 210 means we start here, we rotate around, there's 90, 180, and I needed 30 degrees more there. So my reference angle is 30. So we're doing the sine of 30, right? Doing the sine of 30. That's 1/2. And in that quadrant, the sine is negative because only the tangent is positive. So your answer is -1/2. All right, one more for you to do. 3 steps. Pause the video. Do it right now. Okay, so here we are. We're back. And so we're going to do cosine of 120. So we're going to start right here. There's 90. Need to go a little bit more to make 120. So how many degrees in here? Well, it's going to be 60 degrees in here. So we're really thinking about the cosine of 60. Well, the cosine of 60, of course, from our table is 1/2. And in that quadrant, cosine is not positive because only sine is, so it's negative. And there you have it. And that's your quick review video on finding trig values of any angle. I'll make another video today for our next lesson tomorrow. So hopefully this is helpful. Watch for the videos today. Thanks, bye.